they take 3 of 4 from the Tampa Bay Rays. And if we're being honest, if we're being frank, if we're being realistic, it very, very easily could have been a sweep.
You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Rays, your daily podcast covering everything Tampa Bay Rays, from game analysis to player interviews. We've got you covered with all the latest news and insights. My name is Kevin Weiss.
I'm Ulysses Zambrano,
bringing you expert analysis and passionate discussions about our beloved Rays.
Whether you're a diehard fan who vividly remembers Longo's Game 162 just like us,
or you remember the early Devil Ray days of Wade Boggs and Carl Crawford,
we are here to break down every play, every trade, and every milestone. In fact, this is our 7th season covering the Rays daily.
And the 2025 season is underway, so go ahead, grab your favorite Rays gear, settle in, and subscribe to our Locked On Rays YouTube channel and other podcast platforms. You can also find us on X and Instagram at Locked On Rays.
This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year.
We also want to remind you that we thank you for making Locked On Rays your first listen every day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Well, Ulysses, it wasn't the best series if you're a Tampa Bay Rays fan. I guess we found the answer of if the Yankees would be visitors or if they would treat it like their home clubhouse. And it seemed to give off the effect that the Yankees had no problem traveling to Tampa in a confines that they're familiar with, mainly throughout February and March, as they take 3 of 4 from the Tampa Bay Rays. And if we're being honest, if we're being frank, if we're being realistic, it very, very easily could have been a sweep, if not for what happened on Saturday, where the Rays had like a 0.05 chance to win the game, and they found a way to win the game. So that was great. But other than that, not much doing for the good guys, unfortunately.
Not much doing, and I know that it could have been a sweep, and some people might be like, well, you know, the Thursday game was 63, or the Friday game was 1-0, and, you know, Sunday was 4-0. Like, they were right there. It didn't feel like they were right there, though. Like, even the 1-0 game, like, I mean, the bats were just dead.
That's been a trend, unfortunately, is a lot of shutties.
A lot of shutties, and 2 in a row of, not 2 in a row, but like in the same week, you lose 1-0 to both, you know, Boston and New York, and then you almost get no hit on Sunday. Which, by the way, love that Chandler Simpson new call up, nice, which we will definitely talk about a lot on Tuesday's episode. But that was unorthodox. Let's be frank, too. Like, I agree with the final call, because I don't think they would have ever made that play if he comes out with that ball cleanly, Goldschmidt. But it is unorthodox in the middle of a game of a no-hitter just to change it 3 innings later. Was it 2 or 3 innings later? I think it was 3 innings later.
Yeah, it was sometime later, which I guess, Jake Mangum got a quote-unquote legitimate hit after that. But, hey, either way, the Rays weren't going to win that game, whether they got no hit or didn't get no hit. And not to, be all sunshine and rainbows here, but the Rays have gotten no hit and stomped and dominated. It seems like when the Rays get no hit, it's sometimes, or more than sometimes, a guy you've never heard of or a fringe starter. Like Reid Detmers, I think, was the last guy to do it against the Rays, and there's been a case of other examples as well. At least we can say this about Max Fried. Max Fried is a guy that is getting paid a lot of money. He has stepped up into the ace role with the Yankees due to Garrett Cole being out for the season. He had been really, really good and really, really successful up to this point. So, I mean, it does make sense. It does check out that Max Fried was probably going to shove on Sunday. I don't know if he was going to shove as good as we thought he ended up doing, but you still we kind of made the point that if the Rays were going to find a way to split the series, it would have to be probably Friday and Saturday,
Yeah.
and Thursday and Sunday you're kind of at a lost point or a lost cause there.
Yeah, it's their number one, and you sign them for what, $200 something million, and for 8 years. Like,
I think the highest paid left-handed pitcher of all time.
so yeah, you're right. You should not be surprised that this could happen. However, I wouldn't be surprised to see this happening again by guys not named Max Fried and more like Reed Detmers, because again, it was lovely to see the offense just put on 16, especially against the Red Sox to start the week. That was great.
Right.
It's a fluke, man. It's a fluke. You're not. But there's but that kind of tells me more about the Red Sox pitching that day than about Ray's hitting. Ray's hitting, I can know more from the 15, 17, 20 games they've played rather than the one night that Tanner Houck couldn't find anything but meatballs down the middle. Like, it's becoming a trend, and I know that we said we were going to give them 2 months, but right now it's a very glaring thing. These guys are having a very difficult time just putting runs across the board.
Yeah. And they need to find a way to win at home, because this is your opportunity. You're going to have a huge stretch this first half of the season. And who knows, maybe they wind up being a better road team, which is fine. I mean, however they have to get the wins, I'm good with it. But usually when you're gifted this many amount of home games in the early portion, early third, early half of the season, you're more or less supposed to take advantage of it. And again, I know it's not a Tropicana Field. It's at a new confines for them, but you have to get acclimated to that relatively quickly. And yeah, it was great. It was fun. It was awesome to see the Rays put a 16 spot up against the Yankees. That makes it even feel better than if it was really the only team I'd rather them do it against is the Yankees. I mean, the Red Sox, Yankees, you score 16 against one of those teams and you're happy. But I'd much rather take 4 runs, on average the next 4 days or whatever, rather than 16 in one game, because we've just seen the inconsistency of it. You score 16 and then you score 0. You score 6 and then you score 0. It's like that is not a winning formula, I don't think.
No, it's not. So. And so hopefully, with the inclusion of some other guys in the lineup, which we're going to be talking about next, that can get a little bit, better.
By the way, the adjusted MLB schedule has the Rays playing 47 of their first 59 games at home, followed by a stretch where 69 of their final 103 games are on the road. So let's hope that their private jets, their corporate jets, their commercial jets are very comfortable. Let's hope that their hotels are very comfortable, because there is going to be a lot of traveling in the second half of the season. We have more to discuss. But first, Ulysses, I think we need to tell the audience something very important.
Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, it's easy to lose track. And that's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. It takes less than 5 minutes to get started, and it's a complete look at your financial well-being. It manages your money. You can start building wealth. It's fantastic. It gives you everything. It's not just a budgeting app. And today, you can get started and take control of your finances with Monarch Money using code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's right. Using code LOCKEDONMLB gets you 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com. Again, monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year.
All right. So Tampa Bay Rays, not the best of series against the Bronx Bombers. And, let's be honest, the Yankees are a very good team. They might wind up winning the division when it's all said and done. What's a little bit crazy to me, I mean, we can talk about Aaron Judge and Cody Bellinger and some of the big names in the lineup for the Yankees, but a guy who has really kicked it off is Trent Grisham.
Wow.
I mean, he had a heck of a series, and I know he's known more as a defensive stalwart with what he does in the outfield. He's won multiple Gold Gloves, but he is, and I don't know if he's going to be able to keep it up for the entirety of the season, but he is off like gangbusters. He's their version of Jonathan Aranda this season, if we want to look at it that way, which is funny because Grisham has been like an under 200 hitter the last 3 years between San Diego and New York. And he is leaning into like the throwback 70s, 80s player. He's got the mustache. He's no batting gloves. He is really leaning into the throwback look. And if it wasn't for the Yankees, I would cheer for him a little bit in that respect. But it's guys like him who are stepping up for the Yankees, and they're having a lot of success in the early part of the season. So
that's what you need if you have a team that is going to be in playoff contention. Your auxiliary parts need to be present and producing, because it can't just be 1-2 dudes, and the problem right now with the Rays is that the 1 or 2 dudes that should be producing are not producing, or are not
i.e. Brandon Lau, i.e. Brandon Lau, i.e. Yandy Diaz, and we're putting all our eggs in the Cam Meisner, Jake Mangum, and Aranda basket right now.
Right, exactly. So young guys that haven't had a full season of Major League Baseball, like that's not how it goes. Fantastic that Aranda and Meisner and Mangum are doing what they're doing. In fact, It's more than welcome, and it's a great surprise, and it's a great storyline. However, that's the responsibility for this offense to be driven is not and should not be on those 3 guys. It should be on B. Lau. It should be on Yandy Diaz. And on the podium, I think Junior Caminero, with his prospect status, with the power potential that he has, I think some of that falls into his hands as well.
Yeah. And as another added bonus, or not so good of a bonus right now, is the catchers. We have to get some production from the catcher position, be it Ben Rortvedt and Danny Jansen. But on a brighter note, Saturday, where I thought that the Rays would have no hope to win the game, they ultimately did just that. And it's funny because I was actually out of state visiting family, and I streamed the game from my FanDuel Sports Network app to the television, did the old AirPlay mirroring deal. It took me about 15 minutes to figure it out, but I got it done.
Can we just have a 30-second boomer talk? It should be way simpler than what it is. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like I had a friend come over, and they wanted to put the Laker game on. It took us like 10 minutes. I'm sorry. And it wasn't us. We've all graduated college. Some of us have multiple degrees, and it was way more difficult than it needed to be. So can we just fix that? Okay. Thank you.
No, look, it's like you got to hire a IT specialist to figure things out. It's a lot more complicated than it needs to be. And I'm sure, Gen Zers are like, what the heck? It's not that hard, but evidently it's a little difficult for us. So I watched a good portion of the game, the later innings. Once I saw, there was a point where it was 6-1 in the fourth. The Yankees were up, and then they continued to, they had a solid lead throughout the game, and it got to the point of like, all right, it's time to go to dinner with family. Are we going to watch the end of this game? And you see the Yankees put on a couple more runs. And at that point, it's like, okay, turning this off, know that the Rays aren't going to win it. Go to dinner, check the score just for poops and giggles, and find out the Rays win. I'm like, what the heck? And that's happened before. That's happened when I've watched a spring training game or go to, a major league game. But never really with that quite deficit that the Rays were facing. So I guess it just goes to show you, don't give up hope. You got to keep watching to the end if you can stomach it, because it was amazing to see the Rays rally to tie the Yankees in the ninth, and then have Jonathan Aranda, your boy, homer to win it all in the 10th. And I presume that even though you had Max Fried going on the mound on Sunday, that this could have been a watershed moment or a spark plug moment for the Rays to, okay, hey, we just beat down the Yankees. We found a way to win. when the odds were completely against us. And no, they lay an egg on Sunday, unfortunately. But it was still a cool moment. I mean, this could be, we can already mark this down, save it, and say this will be probably one of the top 5 moments for the Rays 2025 season. If I had to venture.
Yeah. You can bookmark that game. Now, you said this could be a watershed moment, which, by the way, I definitely think so. Even if, with what happened on Sunday, I still think that it could be, but more of a connect the dots situation. Because what I mean by that is, like, if the Rays go on a run like in the next week or 2 weeks, then you can be like, oh, it was that game that propelled them. Right now, though, it does feel like every type of momentum that they gained from such a terrific comeback win was completely deflated and extinguished by getting almost no hit the following day, less than 24 hours. Like, that was rough. Like, if it could have been like the one worst case scenario, it was, oh, you get no hit the next day. That almost literally happened. So it's tough for this offense to just keep going. And I understand that you're facing Max Fried. Like, it's a tough gig. By the way, good for Aranda to, not only be in the starting lineup, but collecting those 2 walks as well.
Yeah. Batting third in the lineup too. So I guess Kevin Cash is listening to the program. He's listening to Ulysses Sembrano ride the hot hand. And again, that's the case where, like, we don't really expect many righties to do anything against Max Fried anyway. So might as well give him the looks if you can.
And it's, what do you have to lose? Because who's better right now than Aranda right now on the other side? It's not a lot of folks. So good for them to trot out Aranda there against the lefty, and good on them for 2 games in a row, giving Jose Caballero a look at shortstop as the starter. Saturday and Sunday, Jose Caballero was the starting shortstop, and boy, he made a really nifty play on Saturday's game, like to turn a double play, between his legs, like a willy. That's what we call it.
Savannah Bananas type. That's like Savannah Bananas type highlights there.
It was fantastic. So he can also flash the leather, and I understand Walls is terrific out there, but I think we have said this thing since the inception of this podcast in 2019. It doesn't matter one thing that you do really well. It doesn't matter the other thing that you do horribly well. Overall value. When you put it all together, are you a net positive or are you a net negative? Right now, I don't see that overall value being incredibly close with what Jose Caballero can do overall than what Taylor Walls can do overall.
Right.
It's night and day, to be quite frank. Like, yes, Walls is clearly a better defender than Caballero. You're going to want Walls when, Caballero makes a mistake there at short. But when you have Walls in the starting lineup, you're playing with 24 outs. You're putting your hands behind your back, and your offense is already not that great. So how they say, oh, well, we like to have a good bullpen because we can shorten the game. Our starter can go 6 innings, and then our bullpen 7, 8, 9. We shorten the game. You're shortening the game for the rival when you have a guy with the lack of offensive production that Taylor Walls has. Now they only need to worry about 8 guys in the lineup instead of 9.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because there was some news made about Caballero earning the start over Taylor Walls on Saturday, and one of the media members asked Kevin Cash about it, and Cash said, quote, "When it's kind of smacking you in the face offensively that we're not getting things done, we've got to find ways to manufacture runs here." And again, Caballero is one of the guys, like Aranda, try to ride the hot hand while you can. He's got like an 845 OPS in his last 50 plate appearances. And, even if he'll give you a couple of homers here and there, but just him getting a single, not that he's as fleet of foot as Chandler Simpson, for example, but Caballero can steal a base. He can steal many bases. So he can turn a single or a walk into an extra base hit just like that and be a spark plug of his own. So I think that is a really key move, is finding a way to get Caballero more starts at short and limit Walls to really defensive replacement when you can. And if you want Walls to pinch run, sure, but try to avoid bringing him up to the plate unless all you're telling him to do is lay down a bunt or take one for the team. That's kind of where we're at this point in my opinion.
That's where we are, and I really appreciate that somebody in the media asked that question because, like I said last week, it has to be asked. So I'm really thankful. I don't remember. Do you have the name of the person who was
I do not. If I had to guess, maybe Topkin, but
okay.
The quote did come from the Tampa Bay Times. So
whoever got to ask that question, thank you for asking that for the whole fandom, and thank you. That needed to be asked, and thank you, Kevin Cash, for being honest in your response in saying something in a very PC way that the whole fandom has been screaming about, right. Not only throughout this season but years past. But clearly, Cash and other coaches and the front office are looking at the lineup right now and saying, this needs help. Yeah. And it's not only the introduction of, hey, let's see Caballero at shortstop, and even with Walsh being healthy. It's not only that. It's the fact of bringing Chandler Simpson up, saying, okay, kid, go for it. We need some havoc. We need something. We need a spark plug. We need something different in the lineup so that we can, try to create something. And I know that we're going to talk about Chandler Simpson much more on Tuesday's episode.
Right. Yeah. And I just want to shout out one of our listeners, Jack Voorhees. He made a mention of the Caballero starting over Walls, and he said, Cabby makes a great argument to get rid of Walls. The bat is actually there. The defense is just as good, and the running is better. With Kim on the way, Cabby should be the starting placeholder shortstop. Now, I will contend that I don't think Cabby's defense is as good as Walls. He can make really good plays. I also think that him playing some outfield maybe detracts a little bit from the comfortability factor of the shortstop position. But still, it's not like you put him there and you're holding your breath every time. He can get the job done with the plays that need to be made. But again, you're at the point where the offense is struggling. You got to find that you got to find a guy that you can put in there and help you out for a period of time. And that'll be something I wonder, if Chandler Simpson continues to make an impression, Mangum, Meisner, Aranda, all these guys, eventually Johnny DeLuca is going to come back. Eventually Ha-Seong Kim's going to come back. Eventually Josh Lowe is going to come back. What do you do with Taylor Walls then? And again, I'm sure injuries will happen and it'll all more or less be an even swap. But I think it makes it a little bit of an easier sell to say, all right, a little bit less of Taylor Walls here.
Yeah. Again, overexposure of a guy that doesn't need to be overexposed. That's when we get the fandom to feel like they currently do. But let's see. Actually, let's hope everybody can start to get a little hotter here. But in this particular case, look, Jose Caballero, do your thing until Kim comes back, because apparently, you've got a few more weeks until Kim gets all healthy. So hopefully, but yeah, we got a really fun episode on Tuesday, man.
Yes, we do. And on that note, thank you for making the Locked On Rays podcast your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts.